All right, welcome back to WMAC Now with your host, Chuck Stevenson, coming at you today with a special event preview. So we're going to Miami, Florida for Bellator number 271, Cyborg versus Kavanagh. We've got all four ladies fights to preview for you. A little bit of everything, 2 fights in the Flyweight division and 2 fights in the Featherweight division as well, capped off by the headliner, Cyborg versus Sinead Kavanagh. So let's go ahead and get down into it. So first up, we're going to go to the Flyweight division. Technically, this has been moved to a 128-pound catchweight bout. Master Valerie Loreta taking on Taylor Turner. This is Valerie Loreta's first fight back after her first pro loss. Taylor, we haven't seen her in Bellator since a little over 2 years ago, about 2 years, 2 months ago, after she lost to Alejandra Lara in a bantamweight bout, but we have seen her in Bellator twice before. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stats here. So Loreta coming in at 3-1, Taylor coming in at 5-7. Now, as I said, Loreta coming in off of her first pro loss to Hannah Guy 5 months ago. Before that, had defeated Tara Graf via TKO. Turner coming in off of a win via submission just under 2 months ago. Before that, though, had lost 2 straight via TKO and then submission. Looking at the age here, the youth favors Loreta, 23 to 38 for Taylor. So that is a 15-year age difference. That's a pretty big age difference. Height, though, look at this height difference. 5'10", 178 centimeters for Taylor to 5'4", 163 centimeters for Loreta. And that extends to the reach as well. 71 inches, 180 centimeters for Taylor to 64 inches, 163 centimeters for Loreta. So those are your stats for this one. This is an interesting fight. Having watched an interview with Valerie Loreta, apparently she changed up her coaches since her that last fight. She is now her head coach is Thiago Alves, former UFC welterweight title challenger, a longtime veteran of the sport. I kind of question whether that was the right choice to make. I don't think a lot of people did not like what her coach was saying to her in between the second and third rounds of her last fight. I thought he was giving her good advice, if harsh. I mean, it was a little harsh, but he was being truthful to her in the moment. And then she went out there, ignored his advice, and lost. So I'm not sure if changing up the coach this early in her career was the right choice, but that's the choice she made. For Turner, I got to be honest, I like Taylor Turner. She seems like a very nice, sweet person. She's being brought in here as a tune-up fight. But I think this is risky because they brought her in as well against Heather Hardy, and she was supposed to lay down for Heather Hardy, and she didn't. And then she gave Alejandra Lara a decent fight up until the TKO. Turner is not the type to just lay down and take a loss for, an inexperienced fighter. And that's what Loreta is. She's an inexperienced fighter. Yes, Turner is older than Loreta by 15 years, but she's very active as a fighter. I mean, she fights, pretty consistently. She trains all the time. She's always in great shape. She's a personal trainer. She has that length. She has that reach. Now, if she can use that length and reach against Loreta, Loreta's could be in for a very long night. And she's no slouch on the ground either. Whereas Loreta, she has a lot of work to do on the ground, as we saw against her last opponent, Hannah Guy. If Loreta comes in and tries to grapple with Turner, I think that's going to be a mistake. Loreta is going to want to stick to her bread and butter, her striking, her Taekwondo-based striking. As for who wins, normally you see a matchup like this with the records the way they are, and you think, oh, well, it should be obvious who's going to win this one. I don't think it's necessarily that obvious because, like I said, Turner's not just going to go in there and lay down for Loreta. And Loreta, we have not seen a whole lot of improvement from her in her first 4 pro bouts. I think she went pro too early. That being said, I am going to go with Loreta, but I am not entirely comfortable with that pick. So we are going to go with Loreta with the caveat that I am far from 100% on this. We'll go 60-40 on this one. 70-30 at the absolute most for Loreta. And I feel that's being generous because I just don't have any faith in her at this point. She's got to show me a lot in this fight to show me that she is actually putting forth the effort to improve as a fighter here. So next up, we're sticking with the flyweight division. Bruna Ellen taking on Desiree Yanez. Dirty Des is back after a unsuccessful Bellator debut. Bruna Ellen coming off a loss as well. Neither fighter is doing so great at the moment in their careers, but I think that this should make for this should be a fun, scrappy fight. Both of these ladies are very scrappy. So let's go ahead and take a look at the stats here. Bruna Ellen coming in at 5-3. Dirty Des also coming in at 5-3. So identical records, just different, slightly different in how they panned out. So Ellen's coming off of a loss via decision to the current champ, Juliana Velasquez. That was a year and 10 months ago. Before that, she had a decision win over Arlene. That was 2 years, 3 months ago. Dirty Des coming in off of 2 straight losses. First to Combate America's champ, Melissa Martinez. That was a year and 10 months ago. Most recently, she lost a majority decision to Vita Ortega in her Bellator debut. Looking at the age here, youth favors Bruna Ellen, 25-31 for Dirty Des. Not nearly as big of a age differential as the last fight, but it is still a difference there, 6 years. Looking at the height, Dirty Des slightly taller, 5 feet 4 inch, 163 centimeters to 5'3", 160 centimeters for Ellen. For some reason, no reach available for Ellen on Tapology. Dirty Des is listed at 64.5 inches, 164 centimeters. So like I said, this should be a fun one. Very scrappy. Both of these ladies, they come in to fight. Dirty Des especially. So this should be a fun one. I'm going to go with Bruna Ellen here, but I have about... No, oh man. It's hard to say because Ellen's coming in with that ring rust. It's been almost 2 years since she last fought. Yanez has only fought once in that same amount of time, but at least she was active. Big thing here is neither fighter are particularly big for flyweight. Yanez moved up to flyweight when she signed with Bellator, whereas Ellen has always been kind of small as a flyweight, especially compared to some of the other fighters in this division. And she's been in there with some tough ones too. They actually have a common opponent in Desiree Yanez. Ellen defeated her via split decision, and Yanez, of course, lost to her via majority decision. I'm going to go with Yanez to win this one, Dirty Des, just because she's been more active recently, and I think the time since then should have allowed her to more acclimate herself to fighting at flyweight. So we're going to go with Dirty Desiree Yanez to defeat Bruna Ellen. So then we move up to the main card, and we're moving up to the featherweight division. Arlene, Angrifest, Blenco taking on Pam Bam Sorenson. This fight, to me, this is the real ladies' main event here. Not because, I mean, yes, the main event is the title fight, but I think this fight here will have longer lasting implications on the women's featherweight division than even the title fight will. And we'll get into that in a second. But to me, this actually is more important than what's going to be the main event because of those long-lasting implications here. So let's go ahead and look at the stats on this one. Angrifest coming in at 14-8. Pam Bam coming in at 9-3. Now, Blenco's coming off a win over Diana Silva via TKO 3 months ago. Before that, had take a loss to Cris Cyborg via submission a year ago. Sorenson riding a 2-fight winning streak. First over Caitlin Young a little over 2 years ago. Most recently, she made her Bellator debut, defeating Roberta Payne Samad via split decision. That was 2 months ago. Looking at the age, neither of these ladies are spring hens here. 38 for Blenco, 35 for Sorenson. But I'll tell you what, Blenco is a pretty active fighter for 38. I mean, she fights once every 6 months, seems like. So, or tries to fight at least every 6 months, and has shown a lot of improvement since then. Looking at the height, Sorenson slightly taller, 5'7", 170 centimeters to 5'6", 164 centimeters for, 168 centimeters for Blenco. Reach, about identical, 65 inches, 165 centimeters for Sorenson, 64 and a half inches, 164 centimeters for Blenco. So like I said, this fight, I believe, is going to have more lasting implications for the Bellator featherweight division and the worldwide featherweight division than even the main event. Both of these fighters are ranked pretty high. Blenco, I believe, is like the #1 ranked fighter in Bellator's featherweight division right now. Let me check real quick here. So Blenco is #1 ranked. Sorenson is #7. So big ranking implications here. Sorenson could easily find herself moved all the way up to #1 with a win over Blenco. For Blenco, if she loses this one, she's not getting anywhere close to that title fight again anytime soon. Now, she wants to get back up there, and she just had a nice win over Diana Silva. Of course, before that, it doesn't really look well when you become a fighter's first submission win, which she became for Cyborg. That's never a good look. On the feet, this definitely favors Blenco. She has the much crisper striking, vice technical boxing. On the ground, I feel that this could favor Sorenson because, I mean, when you get subbed by Cyborg, it just tends to make you wonder about your submission defense. Granted, Cyborg had absolutely beat her up before that, but still. Then again, Pam Sorenson's last win by submission was 4 years ago, so could end up being even on the ground. I mean, Blenco's no slouch. The loss to Cyborg was an exception. So, anyway, as for my pick on this one, I'm going with Arlene Blenco. I got to be honest. I've never really been impressed with any of Pam Sorenson's wins. I mean, she got the title when she won the Invicta title. It was a vacant title. She had lost to the previous champion. Comes in and fights Caitlin Young, who had basically a 500 record at the time, and won a decision by basically taking down the striker Young and not actually being able to come close to finishing her. So I've never been very impressed by Sorenson. Blenco has a good record really at featherweight. I mean, she has much higher profile wins than Sorenson does. I got to go with Sorenson to win this one. I think she's beaten the better opponents. She's been more active than Sorenson. Has better overall wins. Has more ways to win this fight. So I'm going to go with Arlene Angrifest Blenco to beat Pam Bam Sorenson. So then we move on to the main event. We're sticking at featherweight. Cris Cyborg Justino taking on Sinead Kavanagh. It's Cyborg Fight Week, everyone. Cyborg Fight Week. So I mean, everyone knows what that usually means. And let's get into it. At the stats here, Cyborg coming in at 24-2. Kavanagh coming in at 7-4. Huge experience differential in favor of Cyborg. Cyborg is on a 4-fight win streak since her loss to Amanda Ynez almost 3 years ago, defeating Felicia Spencer decision, Julia Budd via TKO, Blenco via submission, and then Leslie Smith via TKO. That was most recently 5 months ago. Kavanagh is riding a 2-fight win streak over Olga Rubin almost 2 years ago via TKO, and then Katarina Leonard a little over a year ago. Before that, had 2 straight losses. No age available for Kavanagh. I believe she's 35 to Cyborg's 36. Cyborg is slightly taller, 5'8", 173 centimeters to 5'6", 168 centimeters for Kavanagh. See, Cyborg has the nice reach advantage there, 4 inches, 10 centimeters, 69 inches, 175 centimeters to 65 inches, 165 centimeters for Kavanagh. It's Cyborg, okay? Nobody not named Kavanagh or not training at SBG Ireland is actually picking Sinead Kavanagh to win this one, okay? This is a gimme fight practically for Cyborg. And I don't mean to disrespect Sinead Kavanagh. I have nothing against her. But everyone knows what this is, okay? Because you look at the rankings here. Cyborg's the champ. Sinead Kavanagh is at number 5. Arlene Blencowe is at 1. Katzengana is at 2. Leslie Smith is at 3. And for some reason, Leah McCord is at number 4. And then Sinead Kavanagh is at number 5. So they skipped over 2 other fighters that hadn't fought Cyborg yet to give Kavanagh this fight. This is a gimme fight. That's what this is. There's no other way to put it. And you got to think about, how does Kavanagh beat Cyborg? Does she knock her out? She doesn't have the striking acumen of someone like Amanda Nunes. She doesn't have the power of someone like Amanda Nunes. Okay? She just does not. Like I said, don't mean any disrespect against Sinead Kavanagh, but this is an absolute gimme fight for Cyborg. Everybody knows it, and that's why barely anybody is actually talking about this fight. Okay? I'm going to talk about this on a live stream later, but nobody's really talking about this fight. There's no hype surrounding it at all. Like back in the day, even in Invicta, people were hyped for Cyborg fights. Even if she was fighting like nobodies, people were at least willing to see her go in and absolutely just dominate and destroy her opponents. At this point, no one cares anymore. Like even the most die-hard Cyborg nut huggers have been silent this entire week leading into this fight. Nobody cares anymore about her. Her aura of invincibility is absolutely gone because she lost to Amanda Nunes, who moved up in weight after fighting for years at bantamweight. And then look at who she's fought since then. She moved to Bellator. Okay, she beat Julia Budd. That was nice. Beat Blenco via submission. But then, what was her last fight? Leslie Smith. You know, career bantamweight and even a couple times at flyweight, Leslie Smith, who she already beat before, and then went to the absolute 5th round, almost went to the decision against Leslie Smith. Beat her up the whole time, but still, it's like when you beat someone in the 1st or 2nd round, your first fight, you're supposed to beat them even faster. But Cyborg took her time, and nobody wants to watch Cyborg take her time in fights. Nobody wants that. They want to see her go in and destroy fighters, and she's not really doing that anymore. So combine that with the devastating loss where she ended the fight face down, butt up in the air, knocked out, combined with her fighting a more conservative style, she's lost all the hype. The Cyborg hype is done. It's done. So Cyborg wins this, but the hype is gone. There's just no hype for a Cyborg fight anymore. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry at all. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on the Bellator 271 ladies fights headlined by Cyborg defending her featherweight title against Sinead Kavanagh, who no one can even really explain why she's getting a title shot. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on the fights in the comments down below. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. While you're at it, go ahead, subscribe to WMMA Scene Now, the most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.